the whole infrastructure, like if you're part of the prevailing way of thinking, the national security state, the neoconservative worldview, there's an entire infrastructure there to like build out your career. There are endowed professorships. There are think tanks that are ready to give you six-figure jobs. There's a like career progression of jobs on the Hill. But if you think differently, you're kind of hunted in a lot. You know, you're hunted, canceled. They do everything to compromise you, and if that doesn't work, they try to destroy you.
So there's a lot of compromise, especially in Washington, D.C., but how deep does the rabbit hole go? Because there's a lot of people talking about, you know, the deep state, the intelligence agencies having a lot of control, using a lot of extortion, special interest groups pulling the strings here. What's your understanding of how things really work in Washington, D.C. compared to what the average American kind of sees?
Well, I think that, like, the most corrupt, like, foray into this is like freshman orientation, because like you show up here, and I mean, you know, imagine showing up from Northwest Arkansas, from like, you know, Southern Mississippi, and you see the architecture of DC. They take you out to like the finest steakhouse, the best wine you've ever had, and co-located at your table are the lobbyists for the major special interests for the committees that you're interested, that you want to serve on. So like I get here and they're like, oh, Gates, you want to be on the Armed Services Committee. Have you met these defense contractors? These are the key lobbyists that round up the defense money. And they put you with them from the very beginning. And you sort of get the joke that if you give your vote card to the leadership and your calendar to the lobby corps, you just kind of get enveloped into a system that's there to nurture you and protect you and keep you out of harm's way. And all it costs you is your own belief set. And I don't think that's compromise so much as selling out. Now, you know, so that is like step one. And that catches a whole lot of the people who get here. And then beyond that, if you kind of resist that system, then they do try to extort you, engage in anything they can do to compromise you, cancel you, find some joke that you liked on Instagram years ago that like doesn't fit with the mores of this time, find some email that you were on like the forward chain of that's like some basis to say that you're a white supremacist or you're, you know, some sort of unacceptable human that can't be in polite company. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you know, then if that doesn't work, it's abject destruction through the political process, where there are many dollars lined up solely for the extermination of those who push back against the narrative.
Yeah, this is detailed extensively in books like the Economic Hitman that I think are definitely worth reading and checking out here. But talking to previous members of Congress, it's really kind of daunting to see what they have to go through, how much pressure they have to go through, how much agreement they have to agree to before even getting into some of those positions of power.
Well, and it's money. I mean, there's specific dollar amounts. I mean, I remember, you know, going in and saying, well, I want to be on the Armed Services Committee. And someone looked me dead in the eye and said, well, that'll be $75,000 that you owe to the leadership funds and to the Republican Congressional Committee. Wow. And so, you know, I go home and think, well, you know, part of you wants to say, screw you, or like, are you wearing a wire?
Yeah, if I could ask you, and again, you don't have to answer this, but who do you think is more influential and powerful in Washington, D.C., the lobbyists or the intelligence agencies?
Well, I mean, the answer to the question is yes, they're one and the same, because oftentimes they are fused with precisely the same personnel. Where